I'm here today with a 2025 Cadillac Escalade IQ. This is the same Escalade IQ that only a few days ago I did my 70-mile-an-hour highway range test with. And this guy here went 482 miles at a constant 70 miles an hour. I was so close to 500 miles, it got me thinking, I wonder how far this thing would go at 60 miles an hour. So that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to take this vehicle, get back out onto the New Jersey Turnpike, drive along the same course that I did a few days ago, and see how far it'll go this time at 60 miles an hour. 500 miles is a given because I was only 12 miles from that going at 70 miles an hour. What's it going to do? 540, 550, 560. Could it possibly go 600 miles at 60 miles an hour? That's what we're going to find out here today, so let's get into it. Okay, so I mentioned that I already did a 70-mile-an-hour highway range test with the Escalade IQ. 70 miles an hour is the set speed that I do all of my range tests at. Now, occasionally, I'll do a second range test, and I've been doing those at 80 miles an hour just to demonstrate how much less range you can get if you just go 10 miles an hour faster. I recently posted a video where I did the two range tests with a Porsche Macan EV, 70 miles an hour and 80 miles an hour, and explained the difference at the end. And the vehicle goes significantly less distance at 80 miles an hour than it will at 70 miles an hour. That holds true for all EVs. But every now and then when I do these comparisons, I'll get a bunch of comments in the comment section saying, hey Tom, instead of doing it at 80 miles an hour, why don't you do one at 60 miles an hour? I don't break the speed law limits. I don't drive 80 miles an hour. I typically drive slower, maybe not 60 miles an hour, maybe 65 miles an hour. I'm more interested in finding out how far these vehicles will go at like 60 or 65 miles an hour than I am at 80 miles an hour. So please consider doing a slower speed range test in the future. And that's what I did here. We took the Escalade IQ. When I say we, that's because I brought in my associate, State of Charge Pete, to repeat the range test on the day after I did the 70 mile an hour range test. After all, that took me over 7 hours of driving to exhaust the battery, and at 70 miles an hour, the vehicle went 482 miles. And it still had 2 miles of estimated remaining range when I ended the range test. It went farther than Cadillac's estimated EPA combined range rating of 465 miles. We blew by that at 70 miles an hour. So it got me thinking and saying, you know, I got so close to 500 miles, which is an incredible milestone. Why don't we do the 60 miles an hour range test? I'm sure it's going to go farther than 500 miles, and we'll see just how far it'll go at 60 miles an hour. Pete agreed to do it, so gave him the keys. He headed to the New Jersey Turnpike on the same course that I did the day before and set that Super Cruise to 60 miles an hour. Actually had to set it to 61 miles an hour because that's a true 60 miles an hour. The speedometer's a little bit off, and drove down to the same ending point that I did, 1% with 2 miles remaining. So let's take a look at the results of that range test. State of Charge is powered by Qmerit, North America's premier installer of electric vehicle charging equipment. After I've helped you decide which charger to buy, follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. And if you do follow that link, Qmerit will waive the $150 installation deposit. But this is an exclusive offer for State of Charge followers. So in order to get that offer, you must follow the link in the description of my videos. Okay, we'll go over all the segments, but I know your eyes are going down to the bottom to the final results. Look at that, 607.1 miles at 60 miles an hour. That is amazing. I think it's the first time we've had any all-electric vehicle drive more than 600 miles at highway speeds at 60 miles an hour. Now, I know 60 miles an hour is the lower end of highway speeds, but still, there's plenty of vehicles out there driving 60 miles an hour on the highways, at least here in the Northeast. You get out to middle America, I know people drive a little bit faster because everything's a little bit more wide open, but there's plenty of times here in the Northeast where you can't go faster than 60 miles an hour on the major highways. Okay, so now let's just take a look at each quarter of the range test like I do when I do my 70 mile an hour range tests. From 100% down to 75%, Pete went 150.4 miles and used 55.7 kilowatt hour and was averaging 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour in that segment. From 75% down to 50%, he went 148.1 miles. The total at that point was 298.5 miles. And we were talking on the phone. At that point, I said, wow, this thing actually might hit 600 miles, which is nuts. In that segment, he used 55.8 kilowatt hour. The total kilowatt hour used was 111.5 at that point, and he was still averaging 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour. From 50% down to 25%, he went 151.7 miles. And with the vehicle still at 25% state of charge, Pete had driven 450.2 miles. He used 55.5 kilowatt hour in that segment for a total of 167 kilowatt hour used. And now his consumption rate crept up to 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. In the final leg, Pete drove it from 25% down to 1%. He ended with the same 1% and 2 miles remaining as I did with the 70 mile an hour higher range test. He went 156.9 miles, finished up with 607.1 miles. In that segment, he used 54.5 kilowatt hour for a total amount of kilowatt hour used in this range test of 221.5 and ended the range test with a consumption rate of 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. Yes, it went 607.1 miles and finished up with 1% and 2 miles remaining. I'm sure he could have hit 610 miles if he just drove it down to nothing. So that is amazing. He was driving for 10 and a half hours. He did make a couple of bathroom breaks along the way, but the New Jersey Turnpike has rest stops. So you'll simply pull off the turnpike, park, get out, do what you got to do, come back to the car and get right back onto the turnpike. So you're driving less than a half a mile combined at lower speeds. So that really won't affect the range test, particularly one this long. So yes, the driving conditions were great. The temperatures were nice and warm. There wasn't a lot of wind. This was about as good as you can get it, but still 607 miles at 60 miles an hour. That is nuts. I really thought it was going to finish up somewhere around 550, 560, something like that. I mean, 482, 607. I mean, 125 miles farther if you just slow down 10 miles an hour when you're driving. It really goes to show you how much wind resistance takes effect. Once you get up over 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, it becomes an enormous factor in how far the vehicle can go. It affects combustion vehicles also. They get much worse gas mileage once you get up over 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. The gas mileage drops significantly, but people are much more sensitive with range with electric vehicles because of their refueling time, that it becomes more of a conversation. So let's now take a quick look and compare my 70 mile an hour range test with this 60 miles an hour range test. Okay, in the first segment, from 100% down to 75%, I went 120.7 miles at 70 miles an hour. Pete went 30 miles farther, 150.4 miles. I used 55.9 kilowatt hour in my segment. Pete used 55.7, a little bit less, and I was averaging 2.1 miles per kilowatt hour. Pete was averaging 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour. From 75% down to 50%, I drove 121.4 miles at 70 miles an hour. Pete went 148.1. So at 50% state of charge, I was sitting at 242.1 miles driven, and he had gone almost 300 miles, 298.5 miles. I used 56.1 kilowatt hour in my segment. He used 55.8. So I was sitting at a total amount of energy used of 112 kilowatt hour. He was at 111.5, slightly less. My consumption was still sitting at 2.1 and his was still at 2.6. From 50% down to 25%. I went 123 miles. He went 151.7. My total miles at that point was 365.1. His was 450.2. I used 55.8 kilowatt hour. He used 55.5. The total kilowatt hour used at that point, 167.8 to 167. I was still sitting at 2.1. He was at 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. And on that final leg, 25% down to the 1% that we both ended the range test in, I went 117.1 miles. He went 156.9. My total miles ending at the end of the trip was 482.2. His was 607.1. I used 54.9. He used 54.5. So my total amount of kilowatt hour used in my range test was 222.7. His was 221.5. My range test ended with 2.1 miles per kilowatt hour, and his ended at 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. In my opinion, both of these range tests prove that the Cadillac Escalade is an incredible highway cruiser. Not only is it really comfortable, but it goes the distance. Okay, well, there you have it. 482 miles at 70 miles an hour, 607 miles at 60 miles an hour, 125 miles farther if you just slow down a little bit. And I always tell people this when they talk to me about range and long trips. Now, if you actually want to get there as fast as possible, it behooves you to drive faster and then pull off the highway and charge up and then get back out on the highway, particularly with the electric vehicles that charge quickly. The Cadillac Escalade does charge quickly. It'll pull well over 300 kilowatt for a while, to up to over 50% state of charge. So, you know, if you're actually in a rush, you want to get there as fast as possible, you'd be better off driving between 70 and maybe even 80 miles an hour. And then once you get down to like 10%, as long as there's a working 350 kilowatt charger in the area or 400 kilowatt charger, pull off, plug in, charge up to like 60, 65%, unplug and head out. That would be the best policy if you really wanted to get to your destination as fast as possible. But if you're not in a rush and you want to save money because you're going to use more energy driving faster, it's going to cost you more to charge the car. If you want to get there as efficiently as possible, just take it down a notch, set that Super Cruise on and just go nice and easy. And man, this thing just drives forever. But it doesn't do that because it's efficient. 2.1 miles per kilowatt hour at 70 miles an hour, 2.7 at 60 miles an hour. That's not very efficient. It's the fact that GM put an enormous battery pack in the Escalade IQ, as it did with the Hummer EV and the Silverado and the GMC Denali. They have these enormous 24 module battery packs that, while General Motors won't tell us the exact capacity, they state that the usable capacity is 205 kilowatt hour. Now, up until I did these range tests, whenever I had driven one of General Motors vehicles with the large battery pack that's over 200 kilowatt hour, the most I'd ever pulled out of the pack was I think 215 or 216 kilowatt hour. In these two range tests, back to back, it pulled well over 220 kilowatt hour. So, and we didn't drive it till it stopped. I'm sure we would have gotten 224 to maybe even 225 kilowatt hour out of the pack if we drove it like my buddy Kyle over at Out of Spec does until it just dies on the side of the road. I bet you we would have got 224 or 225 kilowatt hour. I don't know why this vehicle is giving me more energy than all of the other GM vehicles that I've range tested. Did GM do something with the pack? Is it just have a slightly more capacity now? Is this an anomaly? I don't know. I will ask them if they can, explain why this is the case. I probably won't get an answer. They've always been a little fuzzy with their capacity in the battery packs, and they're very difficult to nail down and give you an answer. Some of the OEMs will literally tell you, yes, it has a total capacity of this and a usable capacity of this, and they're spot on. GM's always been like, well, it's got more than 200 kilowatt hour. They even do that with the other EVs they have, like the Equinox EV. They list it as 85 kilowatt hour, but we've found out that it's bigger. The usable capacity is close to 90 kilowatt hours. So I've always been a little cagey with that, but hey, that's their policy. So wow, 607 miles. It's the farthest I've ever seen a production EV go at highway speeds, at 60 miles an hour. I don't think any electric vehicle has gone that far at 60 miles an hour. I suppose the Lucid Air would have a chance of doing that with the biggest battery pack they have. I went 500 miles at 70 miles an hour, so it would have a shot at it, but I never ran that at 60 miles an hour, and I'm not looking forward to doing that because it's not that fun doing these big long range tests, especially when they go more than 300 or 400 miles. But I give State of Charge Pete all the credit for doing this one for me. I wasn't about to do these range tests back-to-back days. All right, well, that's pretty much all I have here today. An amazing result for the Escalade IQ, 607 miles at 70 miles an hour. That's far enough to drive from Pittsburgh to Boston, Massachusetts on a single charge. It's only a little bit less than 600 miles, I think. So that's just crazy that an electric vehicle can go that far. If you just set that cruise control to 60 miles an hour, you'll go 600 plus miles. Amazing. Well, that's all I have here today. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.